Welcome to Chem 4375. This is chapter 1 from the Leninger textbook. And that's the textbook that almost everything that you're going to be seeing is originating from. That's the textbook that is strongly recommended that you have. I can't remember if this is a required or a recommended material. At any rate, this is the textbook that I'm going to be referring to, referencing, and everything like that. But chapter number 1 is the foundations of biochemistry. The learning goals for this chapter are distinguishing features, or identifying the distinguishing features of living organisms, the structure and function of the parts of the cell. So think about organelles, for instance. So if you've taken like a cell biology class or something like that, this should be kind of old hat for you. But if you have not taken any sort of cell biology or freshman level biology class, this might appear to be kind of foreign and new to you. Roles of small and large biomolecules, energy transformation in living organisms, regulation of metabolism and catalysis, coding of genetic information in DNA, and the role of mutations in selection in evolution. Now, these last two items here, they're not going to be a big part of this course or this discussion, but this might resurface, and in the event that it does resurface, I will bring that up again in a particular context. Then regulation of metabolism and catalysis, I'm going to talk about that in a very general sense. To get a much better and a much more thorough discussion of that, you probably want to go ahead and take a metabolism specific course. At Texas State, it's 4385 or 5385 if you're a graduate student. It's taught as a stacked class. That's a class that I know lots of students who are pursuing medical school or taking the MCAT, they want to have that because that's going to be very important for them when it comes to studying for the MCAT and doing well in the MCAT. So anyway, there's our learning goals for this chapter. Biochemistry is the chemistry of living matter. Living matter is characterized by a number of different traits. For instance, it has a high degree of complexity and organization. The extraction, transformation, and systematic use of energy to create and maintain structures and to do work. The interactions of individual components being dynamic and coordinated. The ability to sense and respond to changes in the surroundings. A capacity for fairly precise self-replication while allowing enough change for evolution. So these are all of the things that will come up that you should understand about a living organism or living material or living matter. For instance, if you think about the ability to sense and respond to changes in the surroundings, how does a rock respond to changes in the surroundings? Well, it really doesn't. Hence, a rock is not living material. Compare that to the Rock, Dwayne the Rock Johnson, I can't remember exactly. How does he respond to living or to his surroundings? Well, if you're thinking about Fate of the Furious, which I believe is Fast and the Furious 8, he is very responsive to his environment, and he is very responsive and says, I do need to get into that car and drive it over that submarine. I don't think that was actually The Rock. I think that was Vin Diesel. But nevertheless, that would be a great example of living matter. So the rock is living, a rock is dead, or is not living matter. So complexity and organization of a living system or living matter, well, you have this really wonderful image of differentially stained differentially stained cells. Now, I'm going to give you kind of a rough outline of where I believe the cells are distinguished from one another. I believe it's there all the way here. I'm not exactly sure what all these different stains are. I believe that this blue stain is I believe it's DAPI. That's a DAPI stain that stains nucleic acids. The red stain here would be something like, I believe, well, I'm kind of confused based on this So we've got two different things that are stained. I'm going to do this 1 right here and 2 right here. I think that that is a stain that I believe that it's I cannot remember, the name escapes me at the moment, but I believe that it stains fatty acids. It has a, that's not poncho red, I can't remember the name of the stain, but I believe it stains fatty acids. This organelle right here, the one where I've labeled 1, I believe that's a mitochondria, and so mitochondria are involved in fatty acid oxidation, so that's kind of giving me a little bit of, I guess, hope that that is indeed the stain that I'm thinking of. But we have these stains that show different kind of compartments, different segments of a cell, and show that a living organism has all of these different components that do different things. For instance, this DAPI stain is where our nucleic acids, our genetic material that enable the transcription of DNA into RNA and the translation of RNA into proteins, so that you can actually have this sort of structure, but you can also carry out these different functions. So that's what we're trying to illustrate with this. Now, this is a slide that I don't expect you to take a huge amount of information from because, well, it's really just trying to stress, yes, living systems are very complicated. So appreciate that. Now, this right here, I think is, well, living organisms must intake and transform nutrients into energy. And what we see is, as one organism is living, another organism has died. Now, this hawk right here is eating, I think that's just, yeah, that's got to be another bird. And, well, it's going to extract all of its, or it's going to eat up the proteins that make up this smaller bird, and the hawk is going to then be able to soar on and fly different places so that it can, well, consume other living organisms. All right, well, there's our introduction. I'm going to be continuing through the different parts of chapter number 1. I strongly recommend that you read chapter number 1 and review over chapter 1, the different components of it, because that the text has chapter 1 broken down into basically, where are we? Into 5 different foundations: cellular foundations, chemical foundations, physical foundations, genetic foundations, and evolutionary foundations. Cellular foundations, we've talked about those a little bit simply by looking at that image of the complex molecule, or complex differentially stained cells. But at any rate, go ahead and review those so that you kind of know where you're going. All right, well, thank you very much. Have a good one.